Well, welcome once again. And here we are with our fourth reflection on a characteristic of the era in which we are all making our space-time life's journey. And this time we pick up the characteristic that this age is an age of fear. Fear? Yes, fear. We're all aware of the globalization process. It's an unstoppable historical process. We have spread around the earth, and we are continuing to spread around the earth as a human family. If you disagree or are unsure that globalization is a process which is fundamental to the human experience, just look at the way we are resisting the migration process all around the world at the moment. Everyday news. Now, why should we be doing this? We have always been migrating. Since we first developed self-reflective consciousness and became the human species, we have been on the move. Whether we did start in the Kalahari Desert, in what we now call Africa, or not, we certainly began. And we started to move. And we've continued to move and explore and migrate. Now it is a question of landing on Mars. We're still migrating. Not out of Africa, but off planet Earth. Okay. So why is the resistance so threatening? Why is it now so violent around the world? Of course, migration on planet Earth at the moment involves issues of authority, particularly of ownership, and we reflect back to our second topic on the need for dispossession, what we can and cannot own. The political power games that people play. The result has been a lost sense of purpose, genuine leadership, and uncontrollable violence. And again, we only have to listen to the world's news to get confirmation of this. The number of times you have people killed in random shootings when they're out shopping in the marketplace, or children in school, or patients in a hospital, and many, many other examples we can find, unfortunately. Violence, uncontrolled violence. And the basic root of this? Fear. Now, what are we afraid of? Ourselves. Yes, ourselves. We're not afraid, really, of creatures coming out from space, or even the power of technology that will make our intelligence subservient to artificial intelligence, however way we look at it. We're frightened of ourselves. We're frightened of being one species, which is what we are. One family, because this family is so diverse, so different, so many different ways. Now, one of the ways that was brought home to me recently is our fear of skin colouring. You know, one family. And we used to say for centuries, well, there were differences in the colouring of human skin. You could have black or white or pink or yellow or red. That was it. And if you were black, your skin colour was black, well, a whole lot of evaluation went with that, or pink or red or so on. It's all, of course, quite nonsensical, and we have discovered that. One of the people who has helped us to see this has been a photographer who carefully and patiently over years took photographs of different human beings with different skin colours. She had over 4,000 examples from about 20-something different countries. Is it important? Well, yes. Just a couple of weeks ago, a friend of ours living here in Europe, she is a European and her husband is African, from an African country, and they have a little boy who the mother said is a sort of happy mixture in skin colour of both of them. And their little boy growing up, now to the age of 5, met in his school a girl who came from Brazil. And he pointed out that her skin colouring and his were identical. And therefore it was logical to assume that his parents could not possibly be his father and mother. So he must have some Brazilian parents somewhere, which he has not yet discovered. Yes, it's still there. Conditioning. Now, we've talked about this, and I'm sure you have many, many times. There was once a song in one of the musical shows, I think South Pacific, that put it very clearly. We have to be taught to be afraid of people whose skin is a different shade, of people whose eyes are oddly made. We have to be carefully taught. We have to be taught by the time we are by the time we are 6, or the very least 8, to hate all the people our family hates. We have to be carefully taught. Conditioned fear. So, frightened of ourselves because we are one family, because we are very different, a vast, miraculous variety of human beings, and we're frightened of the diversity because we cannot control it. And that is the challenge. So, what is the possible response we have to make to this challenge, to this increasing diversity in oneness and its consequences? Well, the answer, quite briefly, is faith. Faith? Yes, faith. But what is faith? I think we have to get that right from the beginning. Actually, we can choose a definition from the Christian scriptures, the letter of St. Paul to the Hebrews, chapter 11, if you want to look it up, and the first verse. Faith is to be sure of the things we hope for, to be certain of things we cannot see. The desire and the mystery. To have confidence, to be sure, to be certain of this. Now that is faith. To have unshakable confidence in what? In whom? The source. From where it all comes, from where we come. The non-physical reality, the ultimate reality, which cannot be reached by mind. Okay, now it's becoming a little clearer, perhaps, as we take these reflections from different angles. Faith has to be a personal experience. It's unique to each one of us. So we have to correct our incorrect use of the word faith to mean a religious tradition, perhaps the theological orthodoxy and practices of a particular religious tradition. In Christianity, for example, you very often have people say, this is the faith. This is the one and only true faith. No, that isn't faith. This is tradition, theology, practice, which aims to make us aware of the challenge of faith. And in all religious traditions, faith is meant to do this. It's agreeing that there is a non-physical reality, that I am part of that non-physical reality, which is mystery to my mind. Okay, so this is the challenge. It's not just started, it's been going on all the time. We have been developing as human beings. The challenge that comes from contemporary cosmology and physics is growing stronger. Or at least it grew stronger from the cosmic leap in the 1960s. Now it's balancing out a little. The challenge to experience ultimate reality, which is mystery to the mind. And the response to this is to have confidence in the experience I have of the existence of the mystery and the experience of the mystery which is called faith. Now, why should it be so important to experience this reality via faith? Because that experience determines all our life's choices. Whether we are compassionate or brutal is not determined by the government or by anybody's theological teaching, but by my personal experience. Compassion replaces fear, and fear will remain until I have experienced faith. So, in an age of fear, the strong need to wake up and rediscover faith, conviction, certainty, the capacity to be sure that there is a non-physical being, reality, which is the source of all that is. We have used the word God in so many different ways for over the centuries that we have lost its power, the power of the word. But if we redefine it in its true meaning, we understand what faith is. Now, faith brings its own challenge. We need to take time, sufficient time, to be attentive, to reflect, first of all, on freeing myself from my misunderstanding of what faith is, and then reflecting on my own experience of faith. What am I really convinced about, sure about, that my mind cannot prove? And then look again at your fears. Letting myself be afraid of what I was conditioned, trained to be frightened of, like the difference in skin colour. That's one example. We were conditioned to be frightened of so many other things. Now, this is an age where we must grow in our freedom from fear. Freedom not to be afraid of ourselves.